Hey, it's Brian with the Midnight Mechanic. Today we're going to show you how to remove the passenger fender on your 88 to 2000 OBS Chevy truck. That's the GMT-400 platform, and it goes all the way to 2000 depending on the model of your truck. It's really easy to do. On our truck here, we've already removed the grill and the bumper, which you need to do in order to get to that fender. There's other videos on our channel that you can see on how to do that, but it's generally really easy, and actually the driver's side is extremely similar to the passenger side. We already have the driver's side pulled off, so we're not going to show you that. But on this passenger side, it's really easy to do as long as you know where the bolts are and how to get to them. So on this body style of truck, the inner fender is actually a steel piece that bolts to the fender along with the radiator core support and the body of the truck. So all you really need to do is take the bolts out that connect to that, and you can leave the inner fender attached to your fender. Now the thing is it makes it easier to go ahead and replace your fender. You can bolt onto it while it's off the truck and then put it on instead of having to line things up while it's still bolted on. You have a couple things that you have to remove before you do that, but it's a lot easier to just remove a couple bolts to remove the things that are on it rather than having to remove the inner fender from the fender while it's still on the truck. One of the things is the air intake. Now this one obviously is not stock. It has some hacked up little thing, but in the factory one, it has a piece that comes out and attaches to the fender. There's two bolts underneath it. You have to take those off and then you can remove it. Whoever did this actually reused the same mount, so it's the same thing as it would be if it was factory. We're going to go ahead and start by taking those two bolts out. The other thing under here is the air conditioning lines and some of the cooling lines, heater lines, have clips that are right there on the inner fender. So you have to take those clips off and move those off of it so it's able to remove. We're going to go ahead and take those off right now. Then we'll have all the access to the bolts we need. So right above the tire, right here, there's these two 13mm bolts. We need to take those out, and we can use our impact to break them off. Now that bracket's loose, we can go back to the top and remove that box. With that box off, now you can see the clips that you need to remove. This right here is an air conditioning line. Your truck may or may not have that. The clip right here needs to be taken off, which you can do with a screwdriver or just your fingers. Move it up out of the way. Now it's no longer attached. Down here, there's a clip that's actually broken on this truck, but it'll hold your air conditioning line, and a lot of times your heater hoses will tuck up in there. That right there is now out of the way, and there's nothing else that really holds it on place up here. With the airbox off, you can remove some of this other stuff. I don't know if your truck will have this, but a lot of them do. It's this cool little retractable light that comes out. You just reel it back in. Not all of them have that, but it's pretty cool. You can unplug it here and remove it with some 7mm. I'm just going to leave it on because I'm going to leave it with the guy who's buying it. There's two clips. There's one right here that you can get pretty easily. Take this out. There's another one over here, and there's one for the antenna. We're going to go ahead and pop those off. I'm going to use a mechanic's pick here. It's easier to get to them with a mechanic's pick or a flathead screwdriver down here than it is to get your fingernail in there or your hand. So now that that one is off out of the way, you need to go ahead and remove the antenna. It connects together right here. We're going to remove these clips. There's two of them here. There's the first one, and they're brittle, so they might break like that one or that one. A lot of times they're just super brittle with an old truck like this. Then you can just grab this and pull it apart. And then right here, this plastic piece has a 7mm that holds it in place. This actually is part of that air intake system. It goes up into the fender and then pulls air out that other side. We're going to go ahead and remove this one right here. Now everything is loose of that fender. One of the things you may notice is that the hood is gone. You have to remove the hood in order to get the fender off because the hood hinge is actually bolted to the fender. So now that we have that off, we can go ahead and start removing the fender. One of the things to make sure you do is to go ahead and remove the bolts on the bottom first and then come back to the top. That way you can support the fender easier instead of having it fall on top of you when you take those bottom ones out. So I'm going to show you what's underneath and where the bolts are that you need to take off next. Right here is this one that's behind the bumper, which is why you have to remove the bumper. You come on the inside, there's 3 bolts right here that hold that fender liner to that core support. These right here, do not remove these two. These hold the battery tray in, so we're not going to remove those. Over here, there's this one, and down here, there's this one that bolt to the cab. Then when we come over underneath here, there's one that bolts it to the cab. And then over here, there's two bolts. There's one up here, and there's one down here. Obviously, our door is off, but with the door open, you can access those with a long extension. So we have it's easier to look at it right now with our door off, but with your door on, you can still easily access those. Then we're going to come on top. There's a bolt right down here. There's one other bolt right here that attaches to that radiator support. There's another bolt that hides from you. See in there, there's that hole in that air box we loosened up. There's a bolt right in there. More than likely, once you get the fender, it won't come off. You missed that bolt right there. And then there's a bolt right here at the core support. Once you remove all of those, it'll come off. They're all 13 millimeter. Everything up top is disconnected. All the bolts underneath are now out. You have two bolts left to take out. One is right here on the radiator support, and the other one is right here by the hood hinge. Once you take those two out, you can go ahead and support the fender and lift it and pull it off of the truck. So it's not terribly easy to do because you have a lot of prep work. You have to remove the grill, you have to remove the bumper, you have to remove the hood. You don't need to take the door off. And then you have to take off all the stuff that's in that inner fender and then a whole bunch of bolts. But as long as you know where all the bolts are, it actually comes off pretty easily and it goes back on actually really easily. You can swap these on and off without having to worry about alignment too much because they just fit really well on these trucks. Haven't really had much problem with alignment issues when I was replacing a fender. If there's anything else you'd like to learn about, any other tools you'd like to see, post down below in the comments. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Midnight Mech, TikTok at The Midnight Mechanic, and follow our business page, Shuck Auto. We'll see you guys next time.